What's good people, and welcome back to the channel here on Crewboy Productions. My name is BK, and this is the Silly, Nerdy, and Wordy Podcast, episode number 75. Let's go. And this is going to be a Superman review, my spoiler thoughts, getting into the details of this film. And I just want to acknowledge episode number 75. Thank you, all of you who have been listening from the beginning, from the audio only. I really appreciate all of you that have been listening. Thank you for all of you who have been watching as well. Very much appreciate you. And thank you to the new folks that have joined me here. Follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, YouTube Music, and wherever you are able to listen. If that is your method of consumption, you can certainly do that for full episodes and shorts. So thank you, all of you, for getting me here to episode number 75. As I mentioned, this is going to be a spoiler review of the new Superman film. So if you have not seen Superman, this is your spoiler warning. You have been warned. Let's get into it. And we are talking about this film. It is directed and written by James Gunn. And James Gunn has done many great things recently. Some of his previous projects include the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. He's also done The Suicide Squad back in 2021, as well as season 1 of Peacemaker in 2022, and upcoming season 2 of Peacemaker that will be releasing on August 21st, 2025. Now let's get into the cast. The cast includes David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnahan, Nicholas Colt, Skylar Gassanda, Bradley Cooper, Palm Clementoff, Wendell Pierce, Sean Gunn, and Sarah Sampaio, as well as Nathan Fillion, just to name a few. And let's get into this. So overall, this film, I just really enjoyed it. I had a great time with it from start to finish. Pacing was great. I just really love this film. And I will give you my reasons why I love this film. Starting off with the opening of this film, I loved how they set up this world, the world building, and he had his unique version of doing his crawl, a couple of bullet points in the white lettering with the background in Antarctica, and a constant theme of using the number 3 in terms of explaining what's going on, what's already established. And this is not a story of a Superman origin story, as we have seen that many times over. So I'm glad that he made the decision not to go that way. So in terms of opening and setting up this film, we started off with the crawl, with the details, showing the 3 centuries ago, 100 years ago, 3 decades ago, 3 hours ago, 3 weeks ago, 3 hours ago, in terms of explaining the details of gods and monsters and Superman coming to the planet, announcing himself as Superman and being Superman already, as well as the metahumans being in this world. So that's already established. It's nothing new. They've been there for a while, so we all know what's going on. So that is already a thing. As well as we get later in the film, Clark and Lois are already dating. They're a couple months into the relationship. Lois already knows that Clark is Superman, so that secret is out between the two of them. So there's already the trust that he has built with her, given her to let her know his secret. So that is already established. So I'm glad they're taking that approach, because you don't need to go through all of that again, as there have been multiple movies and some shows that have gone through that process. So that is the setup of that before we even get anyone on camera in terms of getting that crawl information. And then, of course, we see in the first trailer that Superman just falls down and he's beaten in Antarctica with the bloody mouth, and he's, breathing hard, he's hurting, and then he whistles for his dog Crypto. That is exactly how the film starts off, like that. We thought maybe that would be halfway through the film, but no, that's how we start. That's how we first see Superman. So interesting choice to do that. And he whistles for Crypto. He says, take him home, just like in the trailer. And that's what happens. And he goes to the Fortress of Solitude. You see the Superman robots. And then he goes there, he gets the sun, shown into him, and then he gets healed a little bit. But at that point, he only gets about 83% healing, and he goes back to the battle. Great setup and great start to the movie. And then, as I mentioned before, it's a lot of world building, a lot of setting up this new DC, as this is going to be hopefully many more Superman films, as well as other films to come with all the other characters that are in this DC universe on this DC IP. He's already at the Daily Planet. He's in Metropolis. And then the main central theme of this film to me is Superman's humanity, about doing good and wanting to do good, both as Clark Kent and as Superman, although there is a lot more Superman than there is Clark Kent, but you still enjoy the Clark Kent moment. So the main thing of just Superman's humanity and just wanting to do good, wanting to do well. And you see that throughout the film. Another thing I liked about it, the great balance of the story, the great balance of the action, the special effects, the comedy, the relationships between the characters, the character developments, even though there are a lot of characters in this film, both on the good and evil side, everyone had their moment. Nothing felt forced. Nothing felt it was one way more than the other. So just great balance all around. The comedy wasn't overpowering the different moments. It was great in the spots it needed to be in. Also, the chemistry between David Corenswet and Rachel Brosnahan, Lois Lane and Clark Kent, really enjoyed their chemistry on screen, really worked. I love their energy together when they're in scenes together, as well as many of the other characters. Mr. Terrific, I loved his character, the way he came on. Really enjoyed how he was. I'm looking forward to seeing more from him in this new DC universe. And then also, the standouts were the three leads. Nicholas Hoult probably was the main guy, but his performance was great. That starts with the writing that was given for him and the way he executed the writing. So it was just really great. It was just pure evil Lex Luthor. And so the way he delivered his lines, the blocking he did, the looks, the stance, the posture, all of his movements and mannerisms of it, and just embodying who Lex Luthor is, just purely hating Superman and wanting to defeat him. Nicholas Hoult really did a great job of bringing that to life and doing his version of Lex Luthor, which was really great. So he was probably the most standout for me, but also David Corenswet as Superman, you just see it. So I really enjoyed how he did it, how his emotion was, just wanting to do good. And then also Rachel Brosnahan's character, she was great as well, not only with the scenes with Clark, with Superman, but just on her own, she was great just by herself as a character, as Lois Lane, as well as her interactions with Jimmy Olsen, and even Skylar Gasunda, who played Jimmy Olsen. The moments that he had great moments too. It didn't have much, but what he did have was pretty good too. So I enjoyed what he did as well with what was given to him in terms of his screen time. And of course, Lex Luthor with the manipulation of the country, and then also developing or just having this pocket universe. That is some good world building, that is good setting up, because you have this pocket universe that is tearing a hole in the universe, so to speak, if not done right. So having that there now sets up things in for future movies and future TV shows, because you have that there, then that way you can bring in other characters from other Earths in future movies that could come through that particular universe. So really smart and strategic move there to be able to have people that will potentially come through as threats or other alternate variants of different heroes. So just even having that there, pretty nice thing there. And then the special effects, really enjoyed how those were happening. The flying sequences, just all of it. And of course, a few episodes ago, I mentioned in the Jurassic World episode number 72. I talked about ILM. Well, ILM has also worked on the special effects for this film, as well as the company Weta. That visual effects company has worked on this Superman film as well. And if you don't know who Weta is the visual effects, the company that is behind pretty much all of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit movies. That is the preferred visual effects company that Peter Jackson used on all of those Lord of the Rings and Hobbit films. So both Weta and ILM were working on this Superman project. So very cool there. I talked about the Pocket Universe. I also want to talk about some pop-ups we see here from some Guardians that James Gunn was on the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, but also he brought some of his actors that were in those movies. And I'm talking about Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper portrayed Jor-El, Superman's father from Krypton. He was the one there. So, Bradley Cooper voiced the character of Rocket in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Also, Pom Klementieff was also in this movie. She was voicing Superman Robot number 5. So she voiced one of those Superman robots. So just a nice thing that he brought his cast, his actors from the Guardians movies, including his brother, Sean Gunn. He was in this briefly towards the end in one of the media clips. And this is a thing that I've noticed, well, a lot of people do, but James Gunn has just put his brother in different projects. Of course, his brother is an actor, and he has a lot of great things that he's done on his own. He was in an episode of The Good Doctor. He was in Gilmore Girls, many episodes, and he was in Guardians as well. But that is something that directors are able to do, is to put their family members or friends or famous friends in their shows or in their movies, whether it be on screen or maybe a background character. For instance, on many of the Lord of the Rings, some of the production assistants have their kids as creatures or their kids as hobbits. In many of the movies, you see one particular kid, she's a child, and then in the other future films, she's more of a teenager. So that is just something you're able to do as a director, as someone that's part of the crew. So just interesting thing there that happens in Hollywood many times. Another thing is the Peacemaker cameo. Very strategic there, as Peacemaker is going to be the next project that is coming to DC, which is going to be premiering on August 21st. So he made a brief appearance there. I mentioned in a previous episode of this, the podcast, that sometimes real-time news anchors do appear in different movies, DC movies, Marvel movies. So this time we saw a quick look at Jake Tapper from CNN. He was briefly in this. So really cool there. And also there were 2 post-credit scenes. Nothing really to move the story forward. It was one seemed to be just a nice joke between Superman and Mr. Terrific. And then another post-credit scene was just the shot, which pretty much was one of the marketing promotions with Superman and Krypto sitting down looking at the Earth. That picture you see them in space. So that was just a quick shot. That was one of the post-credit scenes. So nothing really to move the story forward. However, there is a great cameo at the very end, before even we get to the credits, of Millie Aycock of Supergirl coming into the Fortress of Solitude. So we get to see her briefly as Supergirl. And so that was great to see, because that is going to be the next movie, and they have already finished production on that movie. So now they're working on the editing and the sounding and the mixing and the special effects right now. That movie is set to be released next year, 2026. So great to have that cameo come in as well. And it was a quick line that Superman said in terms of she likes to party and go to different planets, not really grounded yet. She just does what she wants when she wants. It was a quick line just to give an insight of how her character will be, at least in the next film, in that movie, at least starting out. So strategically done. It was a quick line, but it was an important line to get a sense and to set up the Supergirl movie that is going to be coming next year. So it was just great to have her in the movie. I thought she was going to be a post-credit scene that she would come in, but she came in at the very end still before the credits rolled. And then also another thing that I liked was I mentioned the balance of the comedy and the action and the storytelling, also with the emotion of this story. It was great emotion as well. I like to compare it to a certain extent of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. That was a great movie. It was heavy on the emotional side as that trilogy was coming to an end, and it was just so heartfelt. And you felt some heartfelt moments in this film too, but not to the extent of the Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but there was some of that in there to a lesser extent. So really enjoyed that as James Gunn put that into this. Is this movie Blu-ray worthy? Yes, and yes it is. I'm looking forward to seeing how this was made and the choices that they did once I'm able to see that on the Blu-ray. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. There were also some great cinematography shots as well, particularly when Superman and Lois were sitting in Lois's apartment and he was getting ready to go turn himself in after the coded message of his family. He got to see how that sounded. And of course, he couldn't believe that. And before he did, you had Green Lantern and Hawkgirl in the background battling an eye creature. And so you got the color palette of the purple and the green in the background as they're talking. And then there's a shot of Superman and Lois just kind of standing there from their back with that color palette. So that was a great shot. And yes, I didn't mention that Green Lantern and Hawkgirl are also in this movie as well. So they're already in this story, and the Green Lantern is Guy Gardner. So that was great. And right now they're calling the group the Justice Gang. And every time it's mentioned, it's like, we're not calling it that. So obviously they're not calling it the Justice League quite yet. I thought that would be something that they would say towards the end, say, okay, we're going to call it the Justice League, but they're waiting on that. So they're playing that out slow. So very nice. They're already at the Hall of Justice. So they have the building. You see that it's still coming together, but that will be a slow build to getting to the eventual name that will be called the Justice League. But that's just it was an ongoing joke that was happening throughout the movie. So very cool. So a lot of world building and setup to this new DC. And I like that it's not forced. Of course, we know that there's Gotham. We know that there's Central City and the Flash and Batman and Wonder Woman and all these different characters, but you don't need to force it all in. You just need to focus on this movie. Let's see how it does. And then we'll get to those other characters as time goes on, as this chapter 1 of this new DC started. So I think it's off to a great start. The music was pretty good. The Superman main theme by John Williams, you heard that as well. So I enjoyed that. The score of this was okay. Besides the Superman theme, that was kind of it for me in terms of music. The pacing was great throughout. There was no slow moments for me. Really enjoyed the character development, the lines, the writing, and all of the different choices that were made. One thing I would say is the Wendell Pierce, Perry White's character, he didn't get much screen time, so he didn't have much, but what he did well. But not everybody's going to get screen time because there's so many characters and there's so much time that you can put into a movie and get everybody the screen time they deserve. But I really enjoy this. I don't have much to say that is negative about this film. Maybe if the score was a little bit more, but the Superman theme is enough for me, and having the Guardians pop up as well. And then also one thing was the message that Superman's parents showed him about being a good man, being a good human being, and doing good for planet Earth. And then eventually hearing the rest of that message decoded as Lex Luthor manipulated and showed that I tried to turn the world against Superman. And just, again, his humanity showing through, even though his parents said he was going to come and rule the earth, but that is not what Superman is about. And so still showing his humanity, willing to turn himself in as well, just having that theme go throughout that. I think for that's most of my thoughts on this film. Really enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in terms of your thoughts. Did you enjoy this movie? Were you excited for this movie? If so, what was your favorite part? Did you have a favorite joke? Did you have a favorite shot in this movie? What did you think of Millie Aycock's Supergirl coming in at the end there? What did you think of Mr. Terrific and Green Lantern and Hawkgirl, the pocket dimension, having that there now? Let me know your thoughts. What did you think about this? Drop a comment as well as leave a review, leave a rating, and let me know what you thought about this film as well as what I'm doing here. And this upcoming week, I'll be going to see Les Miserables live in person at my local theater here. So I'll be having a review of that show after I attend it. So I'm very excited to see that for the first time and be able to discuss a Broadway show. So that'll be coming very soon as I will be seeing that show this week. So subscribe to the channel as well as follow me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio, and wherever you are able to listen to your podcast, as well as watching here on the YouTube channel and on Spotify. So I do spoiler reviews, production breakdowns, as well as Broadway, and I'll have guests coming to the show soon. Looking forward to doing that. But that is all I'm going to have for you today. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this brought value to you as I went into this film, and I hope everyone has a great day. That is all I'm going to have for now. So until next time, we will talk soon.